Have you ever felt like the one thing you want most in life is the one thing you can't have? Like there's a void inside you that everyone can see, and no matter how hard you pray, how desperately you plead, the silence from heaven is deafening. I've been wrestling with Hannah's story lately, and what I discovered shattered everything I thought I knew about unanswered prayers. Because what if the very thing breaking you right now is actually the birthplace of something so significant, so world-changing, that your pain isn't punishment, it's preparation? What if your deepest wound is about to become your greatest purpose? If you're in a season right now where it feels like everyone around you is being blessed while you're stuck in the same painful place, this message is for you. Maybe it's not infertility. Maybe it's a dream that won't materialize, a relationship that won't heal, a breakthrough that won't come. You've prayed, you've fasted, you've done everything right, and still the door remains closed. And the worst part? People keep reminding you of what you don't have. They don't even have to say anything. Their presence, their success, their joy feels like a mirror reflecting your emptiness. I want to take you back to ancient Israel, to a woman whose story I thought I knew. But when I really sat with her pain, when I let myself feel what she must have felt, everything changed. This isn't a story about a prayer being answered. It's about what happens when your deepest humiliation becomes the soil where God plants something that will outlive you. Her name was Hannah, and she lived in a time when a woman's worth was measured by one thing: children. No children meant no legacy, no security, no proof that God favored you. And Hannah had none. But here's what makes her story unbearable. She didn't suffer in private. She had to watch her husband's other wife, Peninnah, parade her children in front of her, year after year after year. Can you imagine sitting at the family table watching another woman's children run around, laugh, play, while your arms remain empty? Can you feel the weight of those silent meals? The way conversations would pause when she entered the room, the pitying glances that cut deeper than any insult. Peninnah didn't just have children, she weaponized them. The text says she provoked Hannah severely, deliberately, constantly. This wasn't occasional teasing. This was psychological warfare designed to remind Hannah daily that she was failing at the one thing society told her mattered. Hannah cried. She couldn't eat. The grief consumed her so completely that her husband, who loved her, who tried to comfort her, couldn't reach her. He'd say, "Am I not better to you than 10 sons?" And I wonder if Hannah wanted to scream, "You don't understand, you can't understand." Because he had sons through Peninnah. His legacy was secure. His worth wasn't questioned. But Hannah, she carried shame like a second skin. Every year the family would go to Shiloh to worship, to offer sacrifices to celebrate God's faithfulness. And every year, it was the same torture for Hannah. The journey to the house of the Lord, the place that should have been her refuge, became the place where her pain magnified. Because worship doesn't erase grief. Sometimes worship is where grief becomes unbearable, where you can no longer pretend everything is fine. And one particular year, something broke inside her. After the meal, after watching Peninnah's smug satisfaction, after enduring another round of mockery disguised as concern, Hannah stood up. She didn't ask permission. She didn't wait for the right moment. She walked to the temple, and there, in the presence of God, she fell apart. The Bible says she was deeply distressed and wept bitterly. But let's not sanitize this. Hannah wasn't praying a pretty prayer. She was gutted, broken. Her lips moved, but no sound came out because the pain was too deep for words. She was so consumed by anguish that Eli the priest thought she was drunk. That's how raw, how undone, how completely shattered she was. And here's what grips me. Hannah didn't try to compose herself. She didn't perform spirituality. She brought her ugliest, most desperate, most humiliating pain directly to God and said, "Look at me. See my suffering. Remember me." I used to read this story and think the point was that Hannah prayed and God gave her a baby. Prayer answered, miracle delivered, story over. But that's not what's happening here. What Hannah does in this moment of complete devastation is something most of us are too afraid to do. She makes a vow that reveals she understands something profound about pain and purpose. She says, "If you will give me a son, I will give him back to you all the days of his life." Do you see what she's doing? She's not just asking for relief from her pain. She's offering to transform her pain into purpose. She's saying, "God, if you meet me in this place of shame and humiliation, I won't hoard the blessing. I'll give it back to you for something bigger than my personal comfort." This is the shift. This is where Hannah stops seeing her barrenness as only her tragedy and starts seeing it as potential destiny. She's not negotiating for a normal life. She's surrendering to a divine purpose she doesn't fully understand yet. The son she's asking for won't even stay with her. He'll be raised in the temple, dedicated completely to God's service. She's asking for a miracle that will cost her everything. And God hears her. Not because her prayer was eloquent or because she finally said the right words, but because she brought her whole broken self to him and said, "Use this, use even this." Here's what undid me when I really sat with this story. Hannah's barrenness wasn't a punishment. It was preparation. That son she prayed for, that baby born from years of tears and mockery and shame, his name was Samuel. And Samuel didn't just become a prophet. He became the prophet who would anoint the first kings of Israel, who would hear God's voice when the word of the Lord was rare, who would shape the spiritual direction of an entire nation. God didn't just answer Hannah's prayer. He used her deepest wound to birth a world changer. Her pain wasn't wasted. It was purposeful. Every year of waiting, every moment of mockery, every tear she cried in that temple, it was all preparing her for a purpose so significant that it would echo through generations. But here's the part that breaks me. If Hannah had gotten pregnant easily, if she'd never experienced that humiliation, if Peninnah had never mocked her, if the pain had never driven her to that desperate prayer in the temple, Samuel might never have existed. At least not the Samuel who was wholly consecrated to God from birth, raised in the temple, shaped by a mother who knew what it meant to surrender everything. Your deepest pain isn't interrupting your purpose. It is your purpose being formed. The thing that's breaking you right now, the closed door that's haunting you, the prayer that feels unanswered. What if it's not God saying no? What if it's God saying, "Not yet," because what I'm preparing through this pain is bigger than what you're asking for? Hannah walked into that temple barren and broken. She walked out still childless, but something had shifted. The text says, her face was no longer sad. She hadn't received the answer yet, but she'd encountered the answer. She'd given God her pain and received peace, not because circumstances changed, but because she'd surrendered the outcome. And when Samuel was born, when Hannah finally held the son she'd wept for, she didn't cling to him. She kept her vow. She took him to the temple and left him there, giving back to God the very thing that had cost her everything to receive. And from that place of complete surrender, from that willingness to let God use even her miracle for his purposes, came a prophet who would change history. So if you're in your wilderness right now, if you're carrying a pain that won't go away, a shame that defines you, a prayer that feels ignored, bring it to God. Not the sanitized version, not the composed, appropriate prayer. Bring the ugly, desperate, broken parts. Bring the tears that won't stop and the questions that won't quiet. Because your barrenness, whatever form it takes, might be the exact place where God is preparing to birth something that will outlive you. Your deepest pain can birth your greatest purpose, not in spite of the pain, but because of it. Hannah's shame became Samuel's calling. What if yours is about to do the same?